G'day, this is Captainoob, and this is an Unreal rocket launcher, currently configured to be a Trident missile launcher. The most basic way of explaining how this weapon works and will perform is it's a fusion of a laser musket and a missile launcher. So you can have this cranking thing on the side, which you can see, and firing some high explosive rounds at your enemies. Sounds like a recipe for a lot of fun. It's yet another kit bash weapon from Spadey and T6M. They've teamed up to create one of the best looking kit bash weapons I've ever seen, unless you know exactly what you're looking for in the vanilla assets present within this particular model. This thing really meshes together, no pun intended, really well. It's a very seamless design on this thing, and it's heaps modular too. In lore and universe, have said that this is just an institute weapon for when they don't need to be as subtle as their blue shooting laser guns that they usually carry around for the synths. So we can expect a little bit of power out of this, and there's also some cool institute paints which we can utilize a little bit later, and some more. So we'll get into the attachments here, doing 316 damage, 1200 missiles, but this thing can use proprietary ammo systems. You can craft the rockets this thing fires if you standard vanilla game missile launchers, missile launcher ammo, so the missiles. So you don't have to worry about feeding this thing when you can presently make the ammunition out of vanilla game assets, which is always a nice thing. So let's get into the attachments. First of all, we've got the receivers, and just like your standard rifles in this game, this thing can be made both automatic and semi-automatic, with the powerful auto receiver here doing a lot more damage, obviously using the automatic laser musket animations, which is more of an intensive reload process, but you get a lot more shots out of your magazine normally. Not really sure how this is going to pan out for a tri-barreled missile launcher thing. I suppose it's got the magazine on the side for reloading, so that might be interesting to see how that goes. But overpowered receiver, we're definitely going to do that one. We're not even going to feel bad about having an overpowered weapon in our arsenal. 553 damage with this thing using these standard missiles is a pretty good start. Next up, we've got the barrels on this thing. We're starting off with a standard missile barrel that'll give us the most damage, but there's also an option for a smart missile barrel. If you don't feel like aiming this thing at all, you can just let the thing lock on and you'll find your targets very easily. But there's also rocket variants of these things using that proprietary ammo format, and you could potentially extend your damage and fighting range out a little bit because you can craft multiple rockets from just one missile. So you can use these, and maybe they'll be a little bit lighter in your inventory for survival mode too. So there's multiple benefits why you'd want to use the rockets rather than just getting damage. There's actually I thought that was negative range, but no, I'm just getting less range out of the rockets than I would with the standard missiles. You can have the tri-barrels, which should give it the Trident little prefix here. There's also the 8-ball, which are the hex and the magazine versions of this thing, and I feel like I should put on some of these rocket rounds, so we're going to go for just some standard ones with the giant magazine on the side there. We'll do that. 9-shot capacity, 70 base damage, and also semi-automatic as well. Should get a lot of shots out of this thing between reloads. Good for DPS, and you can throw some stocks in it. You can have full stocks, recoil compensating, marksman's, that's for when steadying your scope as you're aiming, or an axe stock for better bash damage. Now, if you're running in close range with this thing, the axe stock will give you a good idea, but generally it's a better idea to keep your distance. When you've got explosives, you might hurt yourself from wayward shots. So let's just go for a recoil compensating one, and we'll move on from there. We've got a reflex sight on this thing, which looks kind of cool. Once you actually aim down sights, it's a little bit like the Torg reflex sights from Borderlands 2. So we're going to leave this on, but you also get options for using scopes. Now, depending on how fast these projectiles move, these will or will not be useful, but if you really want to snipe with this thing and the rockets do move quick, then that'd be a good option, but a reflex sight, I think, is the best all-round solution for aiming. Legendary effect is there if you want it, and you can paint this thing. Gunmetal here, Anchorage white, Brotherhood of Steel, digital camo, gunner green, Institute polymer, so going back to its Institute roots of being a weapon that is slightly more slightly less subtle than your standard blue shooting Institute rifles. Military camo is there as well. Minuteman blue, Quake brown, that's a nice touch. Nickel plate, Unreal red, that's also cool if it wasn't communist. And we've also got Ocean Waves. I like that one. I don't like the ocean particularly, but the blue I think is quite a nice color on that. And there we go. There is our Unreal rocket launcher. You can craft these on a chemistry workbench. I'll just show you, don't worry. On your chemistry workbench, you'll find Unreal launcher down near utility. Should be easy to find. You can craft 25mm grenades, missiles for 25mm grenades, and missiles for rockets if you want to convert rockets back into missiles. And you can craft 1 rocket from 3 missiles. No, this is probably a... there's probably more rockets that I'm getting out of that. The game's not telling me, though. So we're going to use about half of our missiles to craft some rockets. But as you can tell, you've got different options on whether to craft these. So if you want 30, we'll have to... I don't actually know how much that's getting. But I assure you that I'm getting a lot of missiles out of this. And an ever context-sensitive idiot savant proc there. Alright, so here you go. This is how you get these things if you don't want to find them on your enemies. Institute, synths, and gunners do carry these. But for a laser musket and a missile launcher, science rank 2, gun nut rank 1, pretty early on perks, you can craft this thing for yourself. The hardest bit will be finding the ammo, of course, and you've also got an option as this thing for a preset. Using the actual missile launcher variant of this requires science rank 2 and gun nut rank 4, so get perking. Okay, let's talk about uniques. Here we are in the glowing sea just outside of the Forgotten Church. Here it is on the map. There's where the crater of Adam is. You'll find a Deathclaw outside this particular place. There he is. And there's the Torg reflex site, if you want to call it that. And we'll just try to blow up this Deathclaw. Yeah. Just one-shot him, that's fine, he's only a basic Deathclaw, but the unique is located, or at least one of them is located just on the front table here. It's called the Redeemer missile nuclear launcher, and it's basically a it's one of these, but it fires mini nukes and has nuclear explosions instead. The other two are sold. One of them is called the Rhino, the rippier new one. That is sold by the Institute synth in the Institute. Currently, the Institute in this playthrough is a smoldering crater. And the last one is sold by Degen in Acadia. Requires Far Harbor DLC. I'd probably put that down earlier. But, yeah, it's sold by Degen. He is currently dead in this universe, so, we won't get those unless we console command, but that's where you get them. Alright, so here we are outside of the immersive Gunners Plaza as the Gunners so rudely interrupt me by taking some pot shots at a mosquito that flew a little bit too close. But anyways, here is what the Unreal missile launcher, rocket launcher looks like in first person. It takes up a lot of your screen, so the Institute, weapons, I guess, tradition of taking up a lot of your screen is fulfilled here. That's pretty nice. Looks pretty good with its vanilla assets in first person. And take a quick look in third person. It's a rather large weapon, would look great in the hands of power armor, and perhaps a little bit too much for your standard person, but Kylie is kind of small, and female characters generally are a little bit smaller in Fallout 4. As far as I know, I don't make mine small. I usually try to keep them the standard size, but she's a large weapon, this one, much larger than what Kylie is, and it doesn't look like it's too unwieldy, but we'll get started. And we've already seen the site, but we'll just start off with the rocket one. We'll take a couple of easy pot shots at some unsuspecting gunners, and then we'll work from there. So as a reminder, this one, semi-auto, 9-round magazine. We'll send some rockets down range. Seems to do pretty well. Spamming on that trigger. Looks like I'm getting a little bit of spread out of this thing, but with the amount of rockets that I'm putting down range and the splash damage that I'm getting from them, there's not really much I can knock this weapon on at the moment. Potentially the inaccuracy on this thing hurts it, I suppose. It would hurt you if you're shooting over low cover and just hit the cover, but perhaps a stationary target you could hit most of the time, but the slow rocket velocity on this thing might cost you and would limit the use of this thing scoped at range. Anyways, let's use this one. The automatic version here has the smart rockets enabled, and they're throwing cryo grenades at me at this point, so that's scary. I think that's fine. There's the reload animation if you're wondering, and we'll try to get those to fall like mortars. Nope, that's not happening. And if the gunners are hiding in the foliage, just lock on and fire and forget. It literally says that in the description of these rounds, but I probably shouldn't be standing out here in the middle of the open, but what can you do? So it looks like, for the most part, 2 rockets will kill every gunner. The weaker ones will die in one shot to it all. And just like the vanilla game laser musket, there is a little bit of a spin-up time when it comes to firing this thing. So potentially slightly less responsive to your inputs than your non-automatic versions, but obviously there's merit to using both. The volume of fire here and time between reloads is a definite positive of this thing. Anyways, let's bring out the missile launcher version. So you can reload one at a time like a standard laser musket, but should you reload all 3, it'll be in burst fire form, so you have to commit to hitting something and really commit to using all 3 missiles at the same time should you load them in, which could be really good for DPS, or it could be really good for wasting ammo. Shut up, phone, talking. It's past my bedtime and my phone's pissed off at me. I'm gonna need sleep too, so we'll try to wrap this up pretty fast. Going 1 missile at a time seems to be a pretty good way of doing it, and the damage here, despite being listed as much less than your standard missile launcher in this game, and you cheeky little gunner. Dodge that one. Don't think she did. The rate of fire and ability to get missiles out really fast with this thing, even when you're just reloading 1 round at a time, it's really strong, and you could probably argue that it's a little bit too strong, but maybe we'll consider that possibility a little bit later. But for now, we'll focus on killing the rest of the gunners, which we haven't really sprung a full combat session where that's changed to killzone music, so I'm guessing this is going to be one of the more crazier runs you'll see on the channel with using guns. But you know, for a rocket launcher, we could probably expect this kind of performance, which is that's fine. Heavy weapons in this game, then they should be really good. They're always really good back in Fallout 3, and New Vegas, to an extent, had great heavy guns, and this is sort of just continuing that Fallout trend. How is it that the basic gunner survives my shot so easily? Who knows? But anyways, we've got 3 loaded in this thing. We'll do a little bit of a door breach maneuver as soon as I get this lockpick sorted out, and finish them off just like that. Maybe pop a full reload in this thing before we move on. But there you have it. That was the Unreal Rocket Launcher and a few variants thereof at Immersive Gunners Plaza. And we always expected this thing to be an effective weapon system, but wow, that was really strong. It just cleaned up here. Combat music didn't even start before we went. And cool fact, you can use this thing with classic holstered weapons. Very, very nice. Looks really good on your shoulder despite a little bit of clipping there, but we won't worry about that. The vanilla game assault rifle clip, so we can definitely ignore that one if we're not looking at it directly. But as an apparel item, I think this weapon looks really good as well. They've actually balanced its giant frame out pretty well on a model of the female character, so you know, that's great. Male characters would apply too, but from what I'm seeing now, looks good. Maybe there'll be a little bit more space. They'll push it back a little bit further for the male characters to make it not clip so bad, but who knows? I could check that right now, but honestly, this video has been going on for enough already. Let's just shoot things. Now, the beauty of using the smart rockets with a scope in this occasion is that we can get a lock on from a pretty good distance away. It's a little bit like a minigun in this game, where you've got a little bit of spin-up time before you let the rockets fly. But here they go. I think we're a little bit out of range on this thing, not getting the damage as much as you'd think. But we're not going to be missing any shots here, so we'll continue just to back off slowly as we get his health down very fast. We're still going to be looking at a pretty fast and easy kill, despite this nonsense that he's pulling. I've just noticed on the corners of the screen, the scope overlay doesn't extend all the way to the side there. Now that's funny. Anyways, should be able to stop and pop the rest of him. Proper boss killing weapon here. Probably slightly overkill on your standard day-to-day gunner, unless you really want to get some kills done really fast. Perhaps in the hands of an NPC who has infinite ammo about them, that would make a pretty devastating, we'll call it that, devastating combination, but okay, pretty good. Okay, this time we're going to use the Big Boy 3 burst fire missile launcher on Mr. Wendigo over here, and oh yeah, we can't use VATS with the overpowered receiver. Just leave the target, she'll be right. Unless he just decides to Usain Bolt off in that direction. Oh yeah, that's some good damage. Keep it coming. It's very handy to have a quick reloading perk, that's for sure. And now we just gotta make sure we can coast him. Okay. Probably thinking about pressing the overpowered button on this thing, but yeah, you could probably expect it for a missile launcher that can fire that fast. But the worst part is that if you reduce the damage on this thing to a point where it just makes ammo for this thing non-economical, being as heavy as the missile launcher ammo is in Fallout 4 survival mode, it gets to a point where you'll find that this thing is just entirely less effective than the missile launcher itself. So it's a pretty hard thing to balance, but you could argue that the damage is a little bit too much right now, but I'm not gonna complain. I'll just point it out for those of you who are more worried about balance. See, Kylie isn't, she loves it. Righto, we're in the dead of night now, just outside of Revere Beach Station, and I have in my hands the Redeemer nuclear launcher, the Redeemer of Souls. No, just kidding, it's not a Judas Priest song. That's a pretty good album though. And right now, we're going to light up the night sky by firing nukes at a single mutant hound. He was the bravest of the mutant hounds, but unfortunately took the decision to run down the wrong road. And now we can sniper these super mutants. With this thing, the explosion radius is so massive, I mean, look at the size of it, that we can hit just about anything and point it at anywhere and it'll do the job. For those of you playing along at home, it might be worth taking a quick look at the other uniques on offer from this mod, because it remains a mystery to me what exactly they can do. Will there be more surprises of self-killing like this thing? Because I'll be honest, I have attempted this recording multiple times at this point. If a guy runs next to me and tries to poke me with a knife, then I'm kind of screwed, because there's no way I'm getting enough distance away from him unless I just break his Bethesda path thing to get away. Now hopefully we can sneak a missile through that door. Well, that kind of worked, but as you can tell, the spread on this thing, it's going to make it even more unpredictable than it should be in most combat circumstances. So if you've got a mod that allows followers to revive you, just grab a follower and do that. Just if you're using this thing, because it's just gonna happen. Just accept it. Or you could spec into like dense gear. Okay, I'm done shooting at the walls here. Here comes the maniac with the knife stick. I think you get the idea. I'll just bounce one in here. Yep, he's dead, definitely. I saw the XP and everything, but what I really want to do instead is take some pot shots at a giant crab that's going to be vibing over on the other side of this beach. I guess we'll go for that. That seems to be a fairly decent wall to get to. And whether I get a VAT shot on this thing, I don't know. I can get many. Well, use all of the criticals. Here it comes. You get to watch this all in glorious slow motion with questionable VATS camera angles. Could you call that fan service? I don't know. And this is a stark reminder that I need to download the mod that makes VATS fast again. I thought it was causing crashes when I transferred this game over. That's much better, by the way. When I transferred this game over from my stealth into my new Raider, but it actually wasn't doing that. It was some, of all things, it was some like things in the mesh folder that was obviously, I don't know what that is. I think I killed the Mylar Queen, didn't I? Why am I currently being showered in poisons, I think? Not really sure what's going on. I gotta say, though, I think the approach of the standard missile launcher, or standard rockets, where I've got 9 in a magazine, or the automatic one, 12-round magazine, that's a pretty neat hit, by the way. Oh, I didn't kill the Mylar Queen this time. That's okay. We'll go for a double or nothing. Cop that. Now, what are you doing? Oh, you're still over there. Well, this one's as good as done. So it looks like you can use it to kill bosses, but it's a lot less efficient. And despite this thing having a lot more damage and a lot more splash radius, I'd call this thing less overpowered than the weapons we'd previously seen, because it's almost so impractical that you'd never want to use it anyway, and the spread on it is not a really big helper either. Like, I couldn't hit a broadside of a sunken boat, and not being able to just do that and be safe and not kill myself for the like 10th time, yeah. So maybe that's a little bit much, but in terms of like a potential long-range solution where you can just put a missile anywhere, expect it to deal a lot of damage, like using it for that ghoul tunnel if you've got followers to revive you, then that'd be a pretty good idea. But yeah, ironically less overpowered than the rest of it, although I do appreciate the mini nuke whistle sound that it makes when the projectile fires. I mean, look at the size of that explosion. That's so big. It's a cool effect too. I think they did alright with the Fat Man effect in Fallout 4. But anyways, I think you get the idea. This here was the Unreal rocket launcher, and it's been pretty fun to use. If you want to see this thing in your game, check out the link in the description below. Should have an Xbox variant of this thing as well, so keep your eyes peeled for that if you're interested and you play on console. Thank you very much for watching, guys. Get the Kylie companion mod too. She's a perfect follower to revive you because her guns not overpowered, she won't steal all your kills.